There is a glass jar sitting on the windowsill above my kitchen sink right now. Inside that jar are flies. A lot of flies. I stopped counting after 30. Every one of them flew in on purpose. Not one of them flew back out. The funny thing is, when I first saw this trick, I laughed. I had just married my wife and moved into the Amish community. It was my first summer there. And like most summers, the flies had arrived right on schedule. Every time somebody opened the door, 3 more seemed to come in. You would sit down to eat, and a fly would land on the table. You would chase it away. 2 minutes later, it would be back. Sometimes I think flies spend their entire lives looking for the one thing you don't want them touching. Back then, my solution was simple. Fly swatter. Problem solved. Or so I thought. My father-in-law disagreed. One afternoon, he watched me miss the same fly 3 times in a row. Then he said something I never forgot. He said, "You're working harder than the fly." At the time, I thought that was ridiculous. The fly was flying around. I was the one sweating. But later I realized what he meant. I was fighting the symptom, not the cause. And that is a lesson I've seen over and over since becoming Amish. Most people fight problems after they become visible. The old-timers around here try to stop them before they start. That afternoon, my father-in-law walked into the kitchen carrying 3 things: a mason jar, a piece of paper, and a bottle from the pantry. No chemicals, no bug bomb, no electric trap, nothing fancy. I remember thinking there was absolutely no way this was going to work. A week later, I stopped laughing because the jar was full and the kitchen wasn't. Now, before I show you the trick, I need to explain something. Most people misunderstand why flies show up in the first place. They think flies appear because it's hot, or because it's summer, or because they live near fields. That isn't really the reason. Flies come for opportunity, food, moisture, smell. Give them those things and they'll stay. Take those things away and most of them won't bother. My father-in-law used to say, "A fly is a critic." I thought that sounded like something an old farmer would put on a sign, but the older I get, the more I think he was right. Look around most kitchens in the summer. Fruit left out, sticky containers, trash cans without lids, pet food sitting in bowls all day, food scraps in the sink. To us, those things seem harmless. To a fly, it's a 5-star hotel. The first thing my wife's family taught me was that cleanliness is pest control, not perfection, not obsession, just attention, put food away, take out the trash, wipe up spills, cover things that attract insects. Simple habits. Nothing exciting, but they work. Now let's talk about the jar, because this is the part everyone asks about. Take a mason jar. Pour in a little apple cider vinegar. Not much. Just enough to cover the bottom. Then add a small drop of dish soap. 1 drop. That's all. After that, roll a piece of paper into a funnel. Place it in the top of the jar. The funnel should point downward. Now set the jar where flies tend to gather. Near a window. Near fruit. Near the kitchen sink. Somewhere they already like to visit. Here's what happens. The vinegar attracts the flies. The funnel makes it easy to enter. The soap breaks the surface tension of the liquid, and the design makes it surprisingly difficult for them to escape. It isn't magic, it's just behavior. The fly thinks it found food. Instead, it found a trap. When my father-in-law first explained this, he didn't talk about science, he talked about fishing. That stuck with me, because it's exactly what this trap does. It doesn't hunt flies. It invites them, and that is why it works. Now here's the mistake most people make. They build one trap, they catch a few flies, then they wonder why flies keep showing up. The answer is simple, because a trap isn't the whole system. The trap is only one part. Remember what I said earlier. Flies follow opportunity. If you have 6 opportunities in one trap, you're still feeding the enemy. That is why my wife's family always focused on the source first. Trash stays covered. Fruit gets eaten before it turns. Compost stays where it belongs. Animal feed stays sealed. Pet food doesn't sit out all day. The trap catches the flies that remain. The habits prevent the next wave, and that combination is what makes the difference. I learned another lesson a few years later. One summer, a neighbor complained about flies. He bought traps, he bought sprays, he bought sticky strips. Nothing worked. My father-in-law walked over and spent less than 5 minutes seconds looking around. Then he pointed at a trash container sitting behind the garage. The lid was cracked open, that was it. That one thing. The flies weren't coming from nowhere. They were being invited. Once the problem was fixed, the flies practically disappeared. That story taught me something important. A lot of people spend money fighting symptoms. Very few spend time finding causes. And causes are usually cheaper. That's true for flies. It's true for weeds. It's true for mice. It's true for a lot of things in life. The cause is where the power is. The symptom is where the frustration is. Now let me tell you the funniest part. For years I thought Amish people had some secret knowledge nobody else knew. Then I realized most of their wisdom isn't secret at all. It's just observation. They pay attention. They notice patterns. They learn what works. Then they keep doing it. Most people want a miracle product. The old Amish men I learned from wanted a reliable habit, and habits usually win. That is why the fly trap matters. Not because it's complicated, because it represents a different way of thinking. Instead of reacting, you're anticipating. Instead of chasing, you're attracting. Instead of fighting every fly individually, you're solving the reason they showed up. That's a much better strategy. Today, I still keep one of those jars in the kitchen every summer. Not because I need it every day, because eventually every house gets a few visitors. And when they arrive, I don't grab a fly swatter anymore. I smile, because I already know how the story ends. The funny thing is that visitors sometimes see the jar and ask why it's there. I tell them the truth. An old Amish farmer taught me a lesson many years ago. He taught me that the easiest pest to deal with is the one that never gets comfortable. And that's really what this whole video is about, not flies. Attention. Most problems give you a warning before they become expensive. A fly appears before an infestation. A weed appears before a field of weeds. A small leak appears before replacement. A little rust appears before replacement. The people who notice early spend less time fighting later. That may be the biggest lesson I learned after becoming Amish. The fly trap is useful, but the mindset behind it is worth even more. So if you're tired of chasing flies around your kitchen this summer, start with the basics. Remove what attracts them. Cover what needs covering. Keep things clean. Set a simple trap and stop working harder than the fly, because that's exactly what my father-in-law told me all those years ago. And for once, he was absolutely right. Next time, I'll show you the strange thing my wife's grandmother used to put near her fruit basket every August. The first time I saw it, I thought she had lost her mind. 3 days later, I copied it myself. If you've got a fly problem, let me know where you're watching from and whether you've ever tried a jar trap.